We already had a session where we talked about when is it wrong to use ChatGPT, and here I really want to share with you my personal process of using AI when writing with my clients. So I've been a content marketer for 20 years, the first marketer at Elementor, headed a lot of content teams. More recently, I became independent and started working with founders on videos, LinkedIn content. So a lot of the examples are going to be from those worlds, but you can infer for other mediums. And I feel like the process I'm going to share with you is the answer to what is happening with SEO. So I actually started working with SEO like 20 years ago. And I feel like nowadays something is different and the process can't be the same. So a few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who was mentioning NovaKid, which is a startup for teaching kids English. And like the content marketer that I am, I went into their blog and looked at what they're doing there. And what I saw that struck me was that they publish in one day, they published like 5 articles on different topics. And I was like, is this still a thing? Like the articles were regular articles. Like this is something ChatGPT is doing. Like how dare they do this? And of course, there are different types of content. If you're talking about thought leadership content, of course, it involves a lot of participation. If you're talking about documentation or event stuff you post on social, obviously you can automate it some more, but for any type of content, you do need to have some sort of connection to what you're writing. So I like this one. Consumers want communication that is human, empathic, and real. So hopefully our AI can learn to generate content like that for them. So yeah, you see, we can disconnect ourselves from content. This is bad for everyone involved. Bad for the CEO or the content creator because they don't have any work to do. It's bad for the audience because they're not getting anything real based on actual experience. And also bad for the product because AI can make mistakes. So another nice cartoon that I wanted to share. What will be the impact of AI on our business? It's too big to put into words. So here's an image I created. It's a cheetah wearing a jetpack while inventing the electricity and fire all at the same time. So how are we using AI right now? Mostly to create cool images like that. I, I don't know. I have a gut feeling that for a lot of the cases, that's actually what is being used. And if it's VO3 or the Sora 2 or whatever, I'm sure this is what it's going on. So people are starting to question whether AI is actually helpful. This is a recommended article recently released from Harvard Business Review where they talk about AI slop, work slop, where it's basically your coworker sends you an AI generated content or document of some sort, and you have to invest a lot of time, basically 2 more hours, just to fact check and do all the work. Really maddening, this process. And it's actually pretty prevalent. Like 40% of employees that they asked actually said that they experienced it in the last month. So we're going to talk about my practical process of writing. And I think what's effective about it is that for every step, I use AI a little bit differently. And obviously also my personal skills. We sometimes feel like if it's too automated, we have no control over what is going on, and we need to gain that control back. And that's part of what I'm trying to do. So it's not always the same order that I go step by step when writing. It's more fluent. But yeah, this is what I've been using when I'm working with founders. And the basic approach is, again, I want myself to be connected to the process of writing, which I love, which is my profession. And also I want the founder or CEO that I'm working with to feel like they're actually writing something of value that develops them. Because, you know, writing is thinking. I'm talking about ChatGPT. So I don't know if you've experienced projects But what I like to do is for every client that I have, I build a project in ChatGPT that is the name of the client, whatever, in this case, human marketing, and the channel. Why? Because each channel, each medium, if it's an article, if it's a video, I'm going to need different instructions, different guardrails. So that's my first recommendation, to have that preliminary. You can upload a file, in this case, my style guide with all the directions that I'm going to give ChatGPT. Obviously, this is a developing file. You don't need to have this already at hand. If you're starting to document what you do, every time add to this document and update it. So another preliminary is adding instructions. It's kind of hidden, this window. It's inside the settings, but you can add instructions to each project. And it's pretty helpful because, let's say for LinkedIn posts, I can give it a certain persona, certain content strategist that knows LinkedIn, something that's related to the client as well. Also, it can also have to do with the actual content that is being produced. Let's say I want the content that I'm producing to have examples. So you might say, wait, but why should I put in the instructions asking it to include examples when obviously AI can't give real world examples? So I'm actually telling it to lie, or what am I doing? The idea is, again, I'm connected to the content that's being produced. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to edit it. So I do want my content to be infused with examples. So it's going to produce an example, and then I'll have the placeholder to know where I'm going to use my own examples and practical tips and so on. Another thing in this project realm is the ability to use memory. So it's an important setting within ChatGPT where you can decide whether you're using the default, where the project can access memories outside of that specific project, or have it project only. This is very helpful to prevent hallucinations. So if you have a project, let's say just for analyzing conversations with customers, okay, and you don't want it to hallucinate or get information from anywhere else, then I would have that setting for that project to have that guardrails and have that extra assurance that it's not going to hallucinate. So we're in the first step of the process, topic selection, and it's one of the most important steps and the hardest steps. So pay attention. So I have this cartoon. It's basically from design world, but it's the same for us. Generate 100 ideas with AI or sketch it ourselves, and we're feeling like that angst. And this is, I'm feeling that anxiety because basically we know that with a click of a button, it can produce 10, 100 endless ideas. So how can we not feel that overwhelm? Furthermore, sometimes AI doesn't help filtering. It doesn't do a good job if it generates 100 ideas and then I ask it, okay, what are the good ones? I don't know if you've experienced it, but the positivity, the fake positivity that AI sometimes have and ChatGPT sometimes have can be infuriating. Like it can be, I can't work with this because they're basically looking for clues what you want them to say and then they say it. So it's no help here. It's one of the most important parts of selecting what we're going to talk about. So the first tip that I use is figuring out for each project, for each client, as well as for myself, what are the sources that I'm going to rely on? And this is an updating list, but very useful. Okay, the CEO is doing things. They're active. They're CEO. I hope they're doing things. So I'm going to tap into what they're already doing because sometimes they're busy. They can't sit down and figure out what they're going to write about. They don't have a lot of time. So I need those extra things that they do that I can tap into. So sales meeting is great. Usually they record sales meeting. I can upload all the sales meeting into Notebook LM, for example, and then I can ask it questions. I can find objections. it's a gold mine. Okay. Usually the stuff that I can also upload them to one notebook LM, one project, and then ask what are the recurring things that the CEO is saying. Usually there is a correlation where you can just take what they're saying. It's like gold. They just don't understand it can be used as marketing material. So things they say to position them, to answer common questions from customers. Webinars that they're having, obviously the same. If they're interviewing in podcasts, usually it's a good source. Competitors, I figure out always who are the competitors who are doing better marketing than you. If I get this founder that has a competing founder, that's gold, because if they did something, most likely we can take a different angle, but a close angle, and use it. News, obviously, when I start a project, I like to immerse myself in sort of a relevant news source. And here, alignment with the CEO is very important. Like, what do they follow? If something happens big in the news, it's very helpful to just create content around that. Customer sessions, customer stories, product roadmap, industry influencers. Basically, we're trying to tap into the mind of the CEO. So that's the idea. Also, thought-provoking questions, which we'll touch in a second. So this is an example. The CEO I'm working with had a webinar. I uploaded it, and now I can just ask, get a full transcript, by the way. Super important. Get a full transcript, throw it in ChatGPT, and produce like 9, 10 posts from that thing. That's great. We know it's valuable because the founder chose to take his or her time to give this session. So they did it for a reason. Questions. So there are certain questions. This is not the entire list. I have questions that I'm using when I meet the founders. Sometimes I use it also for myself. So questions like, what is happening right now in your business? What's working well at the moment? What is happening in the industry? What's a recent customer story that stuck with you? What's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? No, that's a Monty Python thing. I just wanted to check your attention. What I'm looking for, I want the motivation to be there. If I can tap into the real motivation of something that the founder or CEO cares about, then it will have more impact. What's the use of this? It's hard to explain, but basically nowadays we want the audience to follow us. It's not like in the old days where we just wanted the like, we just wanted them to hit like, hit follow, and consume one piece of content. We want them to see this individual as someone who is inspiring. To do that, it has to be consistent. It has to have motivation. It makes sense. Premise development. It's not enough to have the topic. Okay, we have to have a point of view. The founder needs to say something about the topic. So I find that AI is not good so much in developing premises, developing point of view, again, because it has to have that connection, but it is good at structuring it better, filling the gaps. So this is an example of a really wrong thing to ask AI to find what is the premise. What can I say about why SaaS founders should post on LinkedIn? This is an actual topic that I wanted to write about. Why is it bad? Basically because I'm asking for chat's opinion. It's going to give me something generic. And in any case, it's going to give me something because of our bias. I'm going to believe it. I'm going to say, that makes sense. And then this is going to be my point of view. And I want the process to be opposite. I want the point of view to come from myself. So what's the alternative? Think first of a premise, even if it's not clear. So I had a premise that was not clear to me. I want to argue that in LinkedIn, you want a win-win situation with the audience and the content creator. Okay, that was an idea. I kind of felt, I had a hunch. And I gave it some explanation. This happens because real CEOs posting real value is rare. So the audience is getting something differentiated and the company wins the attention. Make this argument clear for a sales meeting with the CEO, and as bullets, outline it. And then it gave me this. First of all, it organized it very clearly, very, very orderly. It put a different hook, a better hook, I have to say. Like it's where it stands out, like a very clear, hooky intro to this content. And gave me the entire structure that I wrote, but in a clear way, not in the jumble that I had in my head. And I can correct it, edit it, etc. But this is how it helps me with the premise. After the premise, outline. Look at the cartoon. Like AI turns this single bullet point into a long email I can pretend I wrote. And then the other side, AI makes a single bullet point out of this long email I can pretend to read. If this is what AI does, just expanding and shortening text doesn't work. So I do think AI is good. I wouldn't say an expansion, more elaboration or giving more examples. So again, usually when I'm working on social content or video content, it's not this outline. I don't have a full exact outline. I do have some sort of structure. So this is an example of something I actually used. So these are the rules I check to check if a homepage is good or not. What other points can I add? No description. Okay, we'll come back to why I wrote no description. But basically, I had a list that I believed was right. And I asked it to give me more examples because sometimes it's easier to recognize than to think of ideas yourself. And if I feed it my examples, it's more likely it's going to find other stuff I like. I use it sometimes with music. Like it's a great thing. Spotify, if you use the AI, if you've used the AI feature of Spotify, you know that it's lousy. Like it doesn't find you great music. But actually, I started using ChatGPT for that. I give it 2 songs. I like these 2 songs. Suggest some other songs. It nails it because it uses like a million parameters that I can't even think about. So I'm using the same strategy here. And now I can go over the list and quickly recognize what I'm going to take and what I'm going to chuck away. So after the outline, usually there are 2 ways I can use this content. I either want to film the CEO that I'm interviewing on the same session and produce a video, or I want to write it later. And these 2 different ways call for completely different uses of AI. So if I'm going to film the CEO in the session live, the advantage is I'm getting everything from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this outline, maybe ask AI to organize it a bit, and I'm going to just use my own ability to build a story. Like this is really where you as a content creator get to use your know-how. Like what's the story? What's the flow? Is something missing? Is it captivating? Is it bringing value to the audience? Usually AI won't be able to know that. Like it's still hard even for us humans, but I really use this stage to change if something needs changing with what the CEO came up with on their own. The other way, okay, I got kind of the rough draft, then I'm going to use AI to create the content. So in this other method, I'm actually using, I have this jumble of content that the CEO created. I'm going to use AI to create the full post, to actually write. And then I'm going to correct it myself, hand it over to review, so it stays connected to the founder. So 2 different ways to work. I use both of them. Okay. So this is what it looks like when I'm just writing the draft. So I'm talking to the CEO and just writing whatever their process and whatever they want to say off the cuff. And I'm just writing everything. If I'm going to produce the content with AI, I'm not just going to use what I wrote. I'm going to also use the recording that I'm doing of the CEO. So I'm going to get the transcript, get what I wrote, sort of cross-reference them, and this is going to be my reference. I need to know why AI is writing it. When is it hallucinating? That's why it's important that I have that summary at hand, and I also have the transcript at hand. Next comes editing and refinement. Okay, so the cartoon here is, how's our AI pilot going? Great. Our first AI was hallucinating, so we got a second AI to fact check it, so a third to proofread it. Fourth says that AI is unreliable. So what's so great then? Our fifth AI claims the sixth AI will fix it. I think this is they tapped into something real here. Like, we can't expect AI to edit and then another AI to re-edit. Like, we have to be involved in the editing process. In editing and refinement, this is where I use a lot of my intuition as an editor. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT for a LinkedIn post for a founder. It was about a customer success story. And it gave me this text. And I just read it and started back and forth with AI. This is what I do. I don't think there's other ways. So the kind of remarks I give it is that I'll never forget feels too dramatic. Use the language a real SEO uses. I'm sorry, but by the way, I'm really not polite with AI. When AI takes over, I'm gonna be the first victim because I'm not polite with them. I yell a lot and yeah. Make the hook easier to grasp. ITP's current condition is hypergrowth. Doesn't make sense. I was talking recently and a few months later, so finding those gaps in logic that it sometimes makes. Sometimes I change the takeaway, like in the last correction, the takeaway should be different, something about recognizing timing. So this is the example of the final post, which is completely different. And I wanted to give it because basically finding the hook is another important thing that I think is problematic for AI to get right the first time. So here I changed the hook to our AI uses 63 classification, and that's just for the damaged item type of support tickets. I think there's a lot in terms of grabbing attention and creating that hook that has to do with always being different. So the more we continue to write, we need to keep changing what we're doing, because grabbing attention is everyone is getting used to something, then we need to change. Everyone is getting used to something else, we need to change again. So that's why you need to use your knowledge, your updated knowledge, and not just AI, because it's gonna give you something generic that everyone uses, and then it's not gonna be effective and not gonna get attention. Okay, a few more tips. This is something I use all the time. Improve without changing what doesn't need changing. I know it doesn't make so much sense, but basically it works, because sometimes doesn't matter the instruction I give it some text and it gives me the most AI written, like easily recognizable text. So sometimes I just want to say keep everything, but if you find something that's wrong, then change it. And this hook works. Another thing I used before that you saw is like, give me ideas with no description. No description. I don't want it to get like working efficiently with AI. Sometimes I just need, give me the ideas. Let me see the ideas, tell you what's relevant. I don't need you to explain everything. So adding no description to your prompts really help, especially in the ideation stage. Finally, there's distribution and distribution optimization. Basically, if you're writing for LinkedIn, YouTube, X, everything needs a different project, I would say, a different set of instructions. So this is a screenshot of the set of instructions I had for X, and it's completely different. While LinkedIn is like educational, inspirational, you can't use that same language when you're posting to X. Has to be short, has to be on point. By the way, CEOs have opinions on each platform, like they have their own style. So this is something that is going to evolve. Sometimes they won't be able to give you all their instructions, but you learn about it as you go along. So this is the summary of what we talked about. You see that every stage it's different. Topic selection, basically AI is used to scan the transcripts, the sources. Premise development, we let AI organize, fill the gaps. Outline, we let AI give us more examples, basically. drafting, either AI actually drafted the content or just organize it and spruce it up. Editing and refinement was the back and forth, very short, very different, like a thinking partner. And distribution optimization that was based on the instruction and the knowledge per channel. Last thing is like, this saying 80% of success is just showing up. But back then, when I don't know, Woody Allen first said this, it was like obvious, show up. But actually, with AI, that's a real challenge. People want to create content without being involved. So 80% of success nowadays is showing up. I invite you to join the Human Marketing Project, and I'll upload the recording and everything in there, also links and all that. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.